Armada book for chapter for the Rotnamies. Andrew's Armada arrived near the Bourbon Galaxies. Billy beamed to Andrew's bridge. Andrew greeted Billy, "Well, hello Billy. I like the way you negotiated the peace. Cheap, very easy on the wallet. Actually I gave them more, like the new metals, some telecommunications technologies, some food technologies and some medical technologies. But still cheap. It's always has to be as total as you can. Good job." "Thanks Andrew," Billy said. Mila and Rabina beamed in. Then Ellie, Reek, Roger, Gantley and Gadden beamed in. "There are people working on our shields?" Rabina asked. Ellie explained, "Yes, I was studying the technology and it just seems like a natural offshoot of our old technology on time warp fields. But the idea of manipulating the shield with our old shield underneath it is a stroke of genius. Pantakn told me the Rotnamies can scan us like we scan them. They seem to have taken hold of an old Norset scanning technology with a range of less than 90 mly. Olive, do you know where these Rotnamies are?" Andrew asked. Olive appeared, "Yes of course. Ellie, can we send out drone probes all the way to the Rotnamies? Who can plot a good course?" Andrew asked. Roger raised his hand, "I can do that. Maybe a dual line would be best. We have more than 200,000 relay probes that can double as drone probes. It would have to be near or along our potential route." Ellie said. "Sure. Let me work on it," Roger said and beamed out. "Andrew, it's not like I don't want to help but I have to go back to the Mac Galaxies. Mila and Rabina can stay and work with you with 100 ships," Billy said. "Okay, I understand. Let me go with you Billy," Gadden said. They both beamed out. "So now we're after a big-time crook," Gantley said. "Maybe we'll find something exciting along the way," Andrew said, sensing Gantley's boredom. "You mean something dramatically exciting along the way?" Gantley countered. "Yep, something like that. We have to stay for 3 more days here and wait for some of our people, actually Billy's people, to finish their work with the Bourbons," Ellie said. "Sure, tell the crew to take a rest," Andrew said. Andrew's Armada stayed for more than 7 days, more than they expected. Before they even started to leave the Bourbon, the drone probes have reached the Rotnamy galaxy and the Norsets have spread them out to all the 15 occupied planets in 8 solar systems. The drone probes kept deploying in the area and there were a dozen probes in each of the planets and several hundreds more around the 15 planets deployed 10 mly away. By this time Tonin arrived with 100 ships already outfitted with the new shield. Tonin beamed to Andrew's bridge and found it empty. Olive appeared and told him they were all at the mess hall. Olive beamed him promptly to where Andrew and the group were. "Tonin, you seem to have finished your chores early," Andrew greeted Tonin. "I left 100 ships, 40 with the Slanders and 60 with the Macaries. They were conducting training operations in the ships and on the ground. The way I look at it, it will take at least 6 months before they can leave and rejoin the Armada judging from the needs of the Slanders and Macaries. And Andrew, they know they had you and they do not feel bad about it. We really felt we were had. And we really were." "Idisight. So what have we found out about the Rotnamies?" Tonin asked. Gantley suggested, "Why don't you grab some food and sit?" "I'm not hungry. You guys are always hungry." He took a seat beside Ellie. "We just love food. Anyway, we have drone relays all the way to the Rotnamy galaxy and several dozen drone probes in each of the 15 planets and several hundred around the area up to 10 mly away," Roger said. "And what did they see?" Tonin asked. Olive appeared. "They have not been apprised by the Norsets yet because they are still consolidating the probe data. They have finished with the language translators though. The reports will be on screens in 10 minutes. See, we have 10 minutes to eat," Andrew said. "The Macaries issued a formal thank you and committed themselves to the armistice agreement. Their problem is that they have holes in their societies where there should be solid institutions. Sometimes I wonder how they developed in the first place," Tonin said. "A civilization can develop with defects over centuries until they encounter a bend and they would find it hard to move on. And this situation was that bend," Roger explained. "It's really a strange thing that the Slanders now prefer beef than their old favorite Mac and Norset meat. Had they known about beef, they would never have involved themselves with the Macs and other species in the first place. Now they intend to grow their own meat," Tonin said. Andrew added, "That is strange. It makes you wonder why they never looked for alternatives in all their history. Maybe they have but the Macs and the other species were easily available and cheap. It's the hunter mentality versus the farmers," Ellie explained. After a while they all went to Andrew's bridge. They found 3 dozen screens showing different scenes from the planets and the galaxy's areas. "Are those ships cloaked?" Andrew asked. "No sir, if they were they would appear like hazy a bit on screen," Ellie explained. Those ships on that screen on the left appear hazy. Tonen said. Those are cloaked. Ellie said. Now those ships suddenly became hazy. Now they are cloaked. Andrew said. Yes they are, sir. They seem to be in ambush positions along the relay drone route. Olive, can you show the galaxy and the route and show where those ships are? Roger said. Olive created a hologram of the galaxy and showed the route lined with drone relays and 6 groups of ships, 50 per group, along the route hidden behind planets. Olive, show the possible routes that I plotted for our ships and show the enemy ships along those routes. Roger said. Roger, you plotted 7 more possible routes, shown like a hazy tubes here. Show where the enemy ships are. Roger said. Olive pointed, for groups of 50 per route, all in ambush positions. How many ships around and on the ground? Gantley asked. 4,729 in planet orbits and on the ground. Olive said and showed 3 types of ships. This one is a transport ship, one of 1,826 included in the count. It's very large as the Tosban ship. This one is their regular intergalactic attack ship. They have 2,801 of these, which is about half the size of the Tosban ships, and this one is their command ship, part of 102 ships, which is the same size as a Tosban ship. How many drones are in the enemy galaxy, Olive? Andrew asked. 420,000, all beyond 100 MLY away, almost evenly distributed around the occupied solar systems and the galaxies. The Rotnamies does not seem to see the drones. Ellie said. Look at that screen, a lot of Slanders and Makiri prisoners. And the other screen show various aliens, Max, humans, Marantais, even some Norsets in a holding area with high walls. Reek said. That's a different planet, Reek. This one has Slanders mixed in with different aliens, all in large cages holding 30 people each. And look at that, humans and Marantais being beaten with clubs. That's gruesome. Mila said. The Norsets tell me they believe there are 10 slave-holding planets. Olive said. Olive, have the Norsets identified where the leaders are? Andrew asked. Yes, Andrew, in fact their leaders are in the capital planet on a very large ship, 3 times my size, orbiting the planet. Can we talk to them? Andrew asked. I don't see why not, Andrew. Make sure you get your translators on the table behind you. You guys want to talk to them? Andrew asked and moved to get his translator. Sure, we may learn something. Gantley said. They followed Andrew and got their translators. Andrew nodded to Olive and they were beamed in as holograms in front of the Rotnamy leadership. Andrew started, Greetings, we come in peace. These are my people Tonen, Gantley, Roger, Mila, Reek, Ellie and Rabina. As usual they were shot at, so they waited until the excitement has died down. Tonen, Ellie and Gantley started to move around to look at the Rotnamies. Andrew thought these were ugly creatures and they look mean too. They basically look like Slanders but have rounded bodies, 2 front legs and a tail that functions as a 3rd leg. They use this to sit on like a built-in high chair. The Slanders they know have very short tails. Their arms look enormous due to a device they were wearing around their arms up to the hand. They had 4 fingers 8-inch long that looked like protrusions from the arm device. They have a sort of a plasma-type weapon in what looks like a laser type of gun. Ellie said and looked at a Rotnamy holding a weapon. I am Gribid, the leader of the Rotnamy Council of Planet Governors. Why are you here? Andrew tried to find the one who talked, but they all looked the same, with mouth salivating, their 3-inch horns looking protrusions on top of their heads moving. Andrew faced a Rotnamy and said, You were expecting us a few days ago. No, we were not. Gribid countered. The sound came from the other Rotnamy on Ellie's left. Andrew turned to face him. You have ships deployed in ambush positions along the major routes to your galaxy. You were expecting us to pass through these ships. Don't give yourselves too much credit. They were deployed as part of our defense system. Gribid said. Against what? Tonen asked. Against raiders who want to steal our treasures. What treasures? Reek asked. Gribid countered, Why would we tell you? Did you mean slaves' treasures? Andrew asked. We have no slaves. You have 10 planets full of Slanders, Marantais, Macaries, Maquis, humans and Norsets. Andrew countered. Those are our food stocks. Tonen was upset. If you notice we look like your food stocks. Yes you do. But you all look intelligent unlike our food stocks. We would like you to release all your food stocks to us so we can return them to their home worlds. Andrew said. You can have them if you pay their price. And we only accept gold or diamond. How much gold or diamond are we talking about? Andrew asked. I have 122 million stocks. The best I can offer them for you is 150 million tons of diamond or 200 million tons of gold. How about 122 million tons of diamond for the 122 million slaves? That's a ton of diamond for each slave or stock. Andrew bartered. 135 million, take it or leave it. How do you want your diamonds? Gantley asked Bribid. No particular size. Just leave the diamonds in the orbit of our capital planet and my ships will bring them down. It would be easier for us to put the diamonds on the ground for you. Tell me where you want them. Andrew said. Okay, just around the capital wherever there's open space. Make sure none of the slaves die or get hurt. We will start delivering them to you in a few days. Andrew said. It is customary for us to seal the deal with a drink of our most potent juice. Bribid said. As you can see, we cannot drink. Do we have a done deal? Andrew asked. Yes, we have. You're not going to cross us, right? Andrew asked. Of course not. Do I have the face of a double-crosser? Tell your planet governors to gather your slaves in one place. Andrew said. We have no slaves, just stocks. Fine, tell your governors to gather all your stocks in one place. As soon as we deliver the diamonds, we will get them. Andrew said. They all beamed out and the bridge screen showed the Rotnamies cheering their leader for closing an extremely lucrative deal. Olive, where's the nearest planet we can get diamonds from? Andrew asked. The ones we are mining is too far from here. And Junie's planet are almost the same distance as that planet. Gantley said. The nearest planets that has that much diamond as Junie's planet are in this solar system 75.2 MLY ahead to the right of the main route Roger deployed the drone relays on. Olive said. How did you know that? Reek asked. Reek, it's SOP for our science ships to scan all planets within our beaming range and understand their mineral potentials, terra and fauna, water, ice, land and so on. Ellie said. Reek looked at Andrew. How would I know? Andrew said to Reek. So all we have to do is get 135 million tons onto our ships and deliver them. How many ships do we need to bring the diamonds, Olive? Tonin asked. 100 ships. Just then Tony beamed in. Tony greeted, Hi guys, I have doubled the Hops ships from here to the Mac planets. I have 60 ships to deploy from here to the Rotnamies. Your timing is always perfect, Tony. Andrew said. Right, boss. Tony said. Why don't we use the Hop ships as diamond carriers? They have more open space. Olive, how many Hop ships do we need to transport the diamonds? Gantley asked. 60 Hop ships. But we need to deploy at least 10 ships to mine the diamonds, beam them onto the ships and then pull them into positions. You sense a double-cross, Gantley? Roger asked, looking at Gantley. Absolutely. His face gave it away. Andrew laughed and said, Exactly my thoughts. The group laughed. So let's assume it's a double-cross. We still need to beam down our Mac taggers to the planets. Then our hackers onto their ships and ground data systems. Roger said. Hacking ground data systems may be too dangerous. But ship hacking is a must. We need to know their ground positions. It would be logical for them to settle ambush or firing positions among the planets and moons along the route. The Mac's intel on the ground can help. Tonin said. Right, Olive asked the crew for volunteer hackers, taggers and marines. Andrew said. Ellie moved to the holomaps. The 15 planets are pretty close to each other. If we can position our 10 ships right in the middle, we can deploy our people and even start beaming the refugees early on. The big possibility is that they will board the ships as we begin transporting the diamonds to the ground. So we have to beam our teams down intermittently so the shields open and closes randomly. But we cannot beam the refugees in because we would be beaming the diamonds down after we deploy our people. And when we do that, they will board the ships. Reek said. Good assumption, Reek. What we need to tell our ship's AI is to deploy exploding tags onto the ship's intruders and beam them to the capital planet as soon as they are tagged. Andrew said. 1,101,934 volunteered in the last 3 minutes, and that includes all our Marines. Olive reported. Let's deploy only half that number. Andrew said. And tell the ships to deploy the exploding tags onto the ships as the enemy ships beam in the intruders. They would have to let the shields down to do this. Roger said. Like a Wild West draw. Tonin exclaimed. Andrew looked at him and thought he definitely must be a Western movie fan. They would have to draw and shoot faster than our ship AI. Ellie said. So we would be sending empty ships? Rabina asked. There would have to be hackers for the ships and marines that would deploy with our taggers on the ground. And yes, once our people deploy, the ships would be empty. Andrew said. Then we have to send more drones as our ship travel to the target areas. Gantley said. Agreed. Olive, deploy another 300,000 drones and position them around the planets. Tell the Norsets to keep a good distance from each other. Half of these should have twice the payload considering the size of the Rotnamy ships. They would have to do some cleanup later on. Andrew said. But boss, if you can save these ships, please do so for me. Olive, tell the Hop's ship crew to leave their positions and go to my ship. Tony said. Okay fine, Tony. Olive, tell the Norsets to try to save the ships and not blow them up. I think they should be more than extra careful, Olive. Tonin added. And Olive, choose among our ships the ones with the mining capabilities and also those that can pull the Hop ships. Have our volunteers deploy already into the ships? Then tell the ship crews to prepare to abandon their positions. Once they are all out, tell the ships to start pulling the Hop ships towards the Diamond Planet. Andrew said. From the drone's videos, the planets does not seem to be mobilizing their slaves to gather in one place. Ellie said. As we can expect in a double cross. We should decide on a refugee processing planet. Olive? Roger asked. Yes, based on our experience our best option would be the planet next to the capital planet. It has the infrastructure but not a lot of Rotnamies compared to the other planets and the capital planet next to it. For the 10 ships and Hop ships, it would take 4.1 hours to remove the Rotnamies and another 18.5 hours to move the refugees from their planet to the target refugee processing planet. Olive explained. No, scan for an empty place. Someplace where there are no Rotnamies or where they do not go. Roger countered. There is this small moon, breathable air. Little water, a lot of caves. Olive said, showing a hollow of a moon. That would work. Roger said. Why? Gantley asked. I feel it might turn into a hostage situation. So better be safe than risk it. Roger said. Olive, tell the 10 ships to link to the Hop system of the Hop ships so they can transport more people. Ellie said. Yes, Ellie. Olive, tell the taggers and marines to deploy evenly among the planets but twice the average number of taggers and marines per planet onto the capital planet. Yes, Andrew. Boss, I think we should start dividing our ships into 4 groups to move from 4 directions once the double cross starts. Roger said. But if they can see us, then they would sense we might be thinking it's a double cross. Gantley said. If we move and they follow, we would know they could see us. Roger wants us to have better attack positions for the groups. If we don't move, then they would think we do not sense a double cross. Andrew said. Move one small group to the left and if they follow, then we know. But then let the group come back so they would still doubt whether we sense the double cross or not. Reek said. I agree. Tonin said. Okay Tonin, move 100 ships to the left say for 50 mly then move way back another 100 mly beyond their sensors then come back here. Andrew said. Good. Tonin said and beamed out. The group in the bridge waited for about an hour and then the probes showed 100 ships from the other route position on their left started to move towards the left. The 2 groups deployed along the main route did not move. See that, Bribid issued the order to deploy. Gantley said. Another group of ships from a planet's orbit started to move to reinforce the position abandoned by the first group of ships. The mining ships have all been filled with the hackers, taggers, and marines. Olive said. Let them leave. Andrew said. ETA at the Diamond Planet, 7.5 hours. So they can see us. That means they have scanners near our area. Olive, have the ships scan our area carefully for sensors. Andrew said. Scan for several scanning wavelengths. I would assume they are using Norset type of scanners. Scan for those. Let the Norset analyze for anomalies. Their scanners may be 300 mly away from here. Ellie said. Yes, one of the ship scans shows a dozen scanners 300 mly away all deployed near planets and moons. Olive said. Have the Norsets blow those up once the fireworks start. Andrew said. We can reprogram some of the drones to look for scanners around their areas. Rabina said. Do that. Andrew said and Rabina disappeared. Bribid seems to expect us to test their scanners. But he does not know about our drone relays and drone probes. Gantley said. Ellie, is there a way for our drones to deploy exploding tags onto the refugees on the ground? Roger asked. I guess it's possible if we have them outfitted with exploding tags and drop them off like bombs near a group and program the tags explode at 20 feet of the ground. But the Norset would have to make the drones fly low enough to deploy the tags say 200 feet of the ground. This could get tricky because our drones fly very fast. Ellie said. What if we drop the tags higher like say 1,000 feet? Roger asked. That would take the tags longer to reach the ground and that also mean they could be way off the target. We can compensate by dropping more exploding tags but a drone can only carry so many exploding tags. Ellie explained. Why Roger, you sense a hostage situation? Andrew asked. They could be all in danger. Once we see them group the refugees, they would probably have some bombs near them. Roger said. How many drones can you outfit in 2 days, Ellie? Andrew asked. If it's a simple magnetic switch deploying all tags at once, maybe 100,000 if all our ships work on this. A drone can carry up to 200 exploding tags around it, and when we demagnetize all the tags fall off. The Norset flying them must be really good at timing. Ellie said. Andrew nodded. Do that. And tell the mining ships to stay near the Diamond Planet a day after we deploy the drones with the exploding tags. Ellie beamed out. The prep work is taking longer. Reek commented. Better be safe than sorry. Gantley said. Good call, Roger. Andrew said. Several days later, the 10 ships towing the hop ships have reached a position along the route within beaming range of the Rotnamies planets. They have been flying at a third of their speed. Immediately, the ships intermittently deployed the taggers and marines on the ground and the hackers onto the Rotnamy ships. The taggers were beamed in areas where the ships scanned less tagged refugees from the earlier exploding tags released by the drones. They continued to fly, this time slower, at quarter of their previous speed. 2 days earlier, the drones with the exploding tags have flown in and deployed all their tags. They then took position several miles above the areas where the refugees were. Andrew's Armada started to move at full speed towards the Rotnamy planets using the main route. After a day, the ships towing the hop ships slowed down when they reached 10 mly to a tenth of their speed. Andrew's Armada will be within beaming range already in 6 more hours. They are mobilizing the refugees and gathering them in very large groups of tens of thousands per group. Gantley said. Olive, tell the ships and probes to scan for bombs or whatever. Follow the Rotnamies moving near or with the refugees. Roger said. The Macs tell me the bombs are inside the refugees. Olive said. Do we know which of them? Andrew asked. Yes. They have pointed them to our Macs. The Macs are beaming these live bombs now into the capital planets. Olive said. Continue scanning and looking for bombers. Andrew said. We have data on what kind of bombs the refugees are carrying. Our ships show several similar bombs around the area of the refugees. The Macs and Marines are locating them now and tagging them. We will beam them to the capital when they are done. Olive said. I think it's time to talk to Gbribid. Andrew said. Roger countered, wait for our ships to stop at 4 ly from their planets. Olive reported, we have beamed 11,685 live bombers into the other planets' capital cities. There were 128,650 bombs deployed around the refugee areas. That's a lot of bombs. They planned this together with their double-cross. Andrew said. Seems like it. Gantley agreed. They continued to watch the more than 4 dozen screens showing scenes on the ground. The ships have stopped. Olive said. Andrew and the group appeared before a small group from the Council of Governors as holograms and told them the ships approaching are carrying their diamonds. We can see they are carrying diamonds. But not much else. Gbribid said. We want to make sure we have the space for the refugees. We are right behind them to get our refugees. Andrew answered. You can start bringing the diamonds on the ground. Andrew nodded to Olive. They have started to bring the diamonds down. They will finish in a few minutes. That's fast. Gbribid said. The Rotnamies are boarding our ships. Olive said. Gbribid, your people are boarding our ships. Andrew said. Gbribid laughed. Of course, your ships are mine. That's not what we agreed on. Andrew countered. Well, if you want your stocks, give them to me. Gbribid countered. Look, Gbribid, of course your people can board our ships, but our ships do not want them, so they are all being sent back to the capital planet. Andrew said. Gbribid was advised that the infiltrators were being removed from the ships and transported to the ground. Olive advised Andrew that the refugees have started to get beamed into the staging moon. Olive added, the ships made sure they are not carrying any bombs. Look, Gbribid, we had an agreement. Andrew said. And I am telling you we are changing the agreement. Give me your ships or no stocks. I will kill 1,000,000 of them if you do not agree. I will tell you for the last time, honor your agreement or we will take action. Andrew said. Or what? Gbribid countered. We will destroy all your ships in space and on the ground, all your war facilities, all your shipbuilding factories and all your communication centers, all within a few minutes. We have bombs in the stocks. And I will let some of them go off if you do not agree. Andrew told Olive to beam a bomb in front of him. Like this bomb? Gbribid was surprised and said, if you explode just one bomb, this one here will go off. Gbribid added, if you kill me all the bombs would explode. Okay, Gbribid, while we are playing chicken, we will start destroying all your ships and facilities. Olive, please start the fireworks. Andrew said. With that, more than 700,000 drones started to attack their targets. The Norsets were very careful not to destroy the ships but made sure their engines and power generators were blown up. They simply crashed the drones into the ships and exploded them. The 600,000 drones targeting ground positions were quick. A group of 10 would simply appear and shoot at their targets until they were destroyed, disappear, then moved on to the next target. Gantley exclaimed, "By the time we finish you will have no capacity to leave your planet. You will have all your armies on the ground. All your scanners and ambush positions in space will be destroyed. You will have nothing. And the thing is we cannot stop this even if we wanted to because it's the way we operate. Also all your bombs are now in your capital cities, a lot are near this building. Why don't you try blowing up one?" Bribid did not order a bomb to explode because he does not know where the bombs were. On various screens he saw the destruction of ground facilities, explosions on his ships and explosions on the ambush ground positions. Some screens showed Marines killing the Rotnamies on the ground that were near the refugees. Then the rest of the planet governors were beamed in front of him. Then 24 bombs appeared in front of Andrew. "We will be able to get all our refugees in 2 hours. We will remove all your people from your ships and we will take possession of all your ships. And we mean all your ships including those on the ground and in orbit in all your planets," Tonen said. "In 2 hours all the stocks implanted with bombs would explode automatically," Bribid said. "Tough luck, these bombs would go off along with them. And did we mention the implanted bombs are all in your capital cities wandering around?" Roger asked. "I mentioned that earlier, you were not listening," Andrew said. "Sir, you just said bombs not implanted bombs, 2 different things," Ellie said. Reek agreed, "That's what I heard. I said all the bombs. I said the word all, meaning all inclusive. Olive told me that just one of these bombs will level this whole building. So even if they start running now, these 24 bombs will level 10 times this building," Roger said. "I don't know if they can run that fast." "Bribid, what do you think?" Rabina asked. "Are you kidding, Rabina? We don't even know if there are bombs outside and maybe some refugees implanted with bombs may be running around outside. Or hiding. Or we can beam these bombs out. Of course you know where each of the bombs are." Andrew moved closer to Bribid. "What do you want?" Bribid asked. "I don't want anything. Do you guys want anything?" Andrew asked. "I want to kill all Rotnamies in all the planets," Roger said. "You must be joking," Bribid said. "Roger, it's a fine time to joke around. Stop joking and be serious, somebody will die here." 3 Rotnamies got the bombs and ran outside through the main door. When they left 24 bombs appeared. "We will pay you millions of tons of gold or diamonds," Bribid offered. "Are you kidding? We just picked up those diamonds from your front yard and it did not cost us a thing. Do you think we are interested in diamonds or gold?" Andrew asked. "Normally a dying man will promise you the world. But a double-crosser will double-cross again without even thinking about it," Reek said. "That would then be quadruple cross," Ellie said. "Very good, Ellie, I like that," Andrew said. Reek, Roger and Gantley praised her mathematical genius as well. Olive advised Andrew that the Norsets have finished downloading all the data from the ground data systems and empty ships. She also told Andrew, and the group, that the Rotnamies have a 1,200 ship armada deployed and are now 110 MLY away. They are now racing back and will be here in 8 days. "Bribid, you did not tell us you have an armada that will arrive here in 10 days. We will also take possession of those ships," Andrew said. "Your civilization must be very rich to have so much for so few a population. I guess if your normal way of doing business is to double-cross, or quadruple-cross, then that would make you rich until somebody gets angry at you and takes action," Reek said. "Reek, make no mistake, I am not angry," Andrew said. "I'm not angry," Tonen added. "I thought you're always angry, Tonen," Roger asked. The group laughed. "I may look serious all the time and I am, but I do not get angry. Please tell us what you want and we will do it," Bribid said. "You said the magic word but we still do not want anything," Ellie said. Bribid and the governors started to run outside, leaving Andrew and the group, who all simply disappeared. "Back at the bridge, I have removed all the implanted bombs in the refugees and beamed the refugees to the medic halls," Olive said. "Good call, Olive," Andrew said. "Thank you, Andrew, but Tony told me to do it." "Where's Tony?" Andrew asked. "He is deploying the hop ships. The able refugees are moving along the hop ships as they deploy further out. And yes, he took 100 ships to secure the route." Several dozen screens showed scenes on the ground and in space. The drones were attacking the ambush positions on the ground along the 8 routes. Some drones were attacking buildings housing communications equipment. Some drones were attacking some military bases and installations. "The drones will be finished in 2.6 hours," Olive said. Olive, get hold of Bribid and all the council governors and put them in time boxes. Get the very best mind-reading Macs to read their minds. Let's just hope our mind readers can get through. Roger said. They're slanders, they can get through. Ellie said. They are now all at the main cargo bay in time boxes. The mind readers are on their way now. Olive said. Come on guys, let's go. Andrew said. They walked to the main cargo bay. I demand to be released. Bribid shouted. Not yet. We will have our mind readers read all your minds so we would know what you know and what you did. Then we will release all of you. Andrew said. This is unfair. You cannot just do this to us. This is invading our privacy. Bribid shouted. We would apologize when we are finished. Roger said. They watched as 3 Macs read the mind of each of the Rotnamies. The Macs tell me they are absolute evil. Worse than the Slanders. Slightly worse than the Listons. They kill other species like they breath air. And you're right, Reek, they normally do a double cross in almost all of their dealings. Olive reported. One of the Macs fell on the ground, his knees suddenly weakened. Then another one on another Rotnamy. Then 2 more. They quickly got back and started reading again. One of the Macs stepped in front of Andrew and the group. They just delivered more than 20 million Macs, humans and Norsets to a certain group of Rotnamies who occupy 2 planets 180 MLY away. That is why the ships are returning. They just delivered the slaves. We have to get them. These are the worst that we have read. They are all absolute evil. That means we cannot leave the Rotnamies any capability to create even one interplanetary ship. Gantley said. Tonin suggested, I think we should concentrate them all into one planet, it would be easier to monitor them from leaving into outer space. I agree. Olive, are all the bombs beamed into the capital planet? Andrew asked. No, Andrew, more than half were beamed into the capitals of the other planets. Let's wait for the bombs to explode before we send taggers on the ground. Andrew said. We can outfit drones with the tags again. Gantley said. It would take too much time. We would need 2 days for 100,000 drones. Ellie countered. After an hour the readers were finished. They all looked tired and extremely tense or upset. They quietly left the cargo bay walking slow and not even looking at each other or at Andrew's group. I don't envy their job. To see great pain is like going through the pain. Roger said. The Macs are now transferring the intel to the ships. Do you want me to beam these Rotnamies back now? Olive asked. Wait, let me apologize to them first. And that's what Roger did. Andrew nodded. Let's go back to the bridge. Olive beamed the Rotnamies back to the capital planet and Andrew's group back to the bridge. Do you want to deploy drones to meet the Rotnamy Armada, Andrew? Roger asked. Olive, where are they now? Gantley asked. Olive produced a holo of the ships, 98.5 MLY away from here. Yes, but wait until they reach 80 MLY, then deploy attack drones and deploy the relay drones as they move along. Tell them to attack when they can but leave the ships intact. Deploy the relay drones all the way to the 2 Rotnamy planets. Andrew said. At that distance, once the ships are disabled, we can beam the exploding tags inside them so we can beam them out to the capital planet with all the other bad guys. Tonin said. We would still have to stay for a day to make sure all the refugees are taken care of. Reek said. We can just split the Armada. But we would need 1,100 ships to go there and get the slaves on the ships and head back. Andrew countered. Let's all stay a day. We leave tomorrow. Olive, when can we get the report on the mind reading? Andrew, the Macs said they would be available in 2 hours. The group continued to monitor the ground operations. Most of the refugee work was being handled by the Talonauts and Macs while the Norsets are cleaning up by making sure all positions were properly destroyed. The next day, the drones attacked all the Rotnamy ships. It only took them 30 minutes to destroy all the ship's engines. More than a dozen of the ships exploded, but most were intact enough for Tony to use as hop ships. Right after the Norsets finished disabling the ships, Andrew's ships started to beam exploding tags and then beamed the Rotnamies to the capital planet. Some of the ships are carrying gold. Total maybe 2 million tons. Olive said. Mila, take 100 ships and tow the Rotnamy ships back to Tony. While you're at it, make sure all the planets are cleared of Rotnamies except for the capital planet. I know we beamed them all out yesterday, but I want to make sure none of the other planets have Rotnamies. Then install a few hundred drones around the planet to make sure none of the Rotnamies leave the planet. Deploy some in orbit and some 5 MLY away. Andrew said. Yes, Andrew. I would be positioning the ships some 40 MLY away from the last Rotnamy planets. Yes, Mila, good thinking. Then we will be able to beam the refugees to you and you can beam them to the processing planet or even the Hops ships. Andrew said. Right, boss. Mila said and beamed out. Boss, look at the screens. The drone probes show that the two planets are preparing for an invasion. They have 200 ships deployed in a grid 10 MLY deep between us and the two planets. The ground defenses are all dispersed most outside the cities. Roger said. The slaves are not on the ground. They must have underground facilities where they keep the slaves. Reek said. Olive, tell the ships to stop at 70 MLY. Scan for the refugees. Andrew said. Why don't we just talk to their leaders? Let the Max tag them and bring them here. Read their minds and then talk to them. Reek said. I like the approach. At least they cannot lie and we would know what they are thinking. Ellie said. Andrew agreed. Okay, Olive, tell the Norsets to look for their leaders, tag them and beam them to time boxes at the cargo bay. Andrew, the ships found the slaves. They are in underground facilities outside the major cities. They are all sealed in like a large prison cell. Is it safe to beam taggers in? Andrew asked. There are no Rotnamies in the holding facilities. Olive said. Send the taggers in with some Marines. Andrew said. The Norsets have found the leaders. They are in a building in the bigger planet. The taggers are all deployed to tag the leaders. In 5 minutes the leaders will be in time boxes. Olive said. Sir, we can just wait for our people to tag all the refugees and then we can leave. But we still need to tell them not to do this ever again or else. Reek said. There should always be some point to learn from a conflict. Maybe they will just agree and we could leave them alone with certain conditions. Andrew said. Like never to interfere with or free the Rotnamies in the holding planet. Roger said. That's one, and another would be to let the word out that this behavior has no place in the galaxies. Andrew said. The Rotnamies are in the cargo bay. Olive said. Beam us over there please. Andrew said. Greetings, my name is Andrew and these are my people. Andrew stopped. Olive, please free their heads. There were 5 Rotnamies held in time boxes. They could not tell any difference between them and Bribid's group, maybe except for the design of the uniform which had the same gray color. And where are the mind readers? Andrew asked. Olive freed the heads of the Rotnamies who all began shouting. They waited for a while until the mind readers walked into the cargo bay. They were the same group that read the minds of the Council of Governors earlier. Roger observed that they looked to be not too excited, but then he could sense some anger in their eyes. Again 3 Max held on to the head of each of the Rotnamies, which also prevented the Rotnamies from shaking their heads. Andrew started again. Greetings, my name is Andrew and these are my people Roger, Ellie, Reek, and Rabina. Who is the leader of your group? I am, and what do you want? One of the Rotnamies spoke. He is not the leader, this one named Sagron is their leader. A Mac holding a Rotnamie spoke out in English. Hello, Sagro. We are here to get all the slaves you have underground and impose on you 2 things. One is that you stop this slave thing once and for all, and second is not to interfere or even deal with the Rotnamies we are holding in the capital planet. We will let you keep your ships if you promise to do this. If you double-cross us, you would end up like Bribid and his people. Do you understand? We have no slaves, just stocks. Sagron said. Whatever you call this, you will stop this practice of holding any other alien form as stocks for whatever reason. Do you agree or not? Andrew asked. He is confused. The question is not registering in his head. Another Mac said. Olive, why don't we show him what happened to Bribid? Roger said. Several screens popped up in front of them showing the ships being blown up, the bombs getting off at the capital killing thousands of Rotnamies. One screen showed Bribid in time boxes being mind-read. One screen showed group installations being attacked and blowing up. This one is afraid. One of the Macs holding another Rotnamie said. Same here, said 2 others. Sagron is now understanding that we have dealt with Bribid decisively. By the way, Bribid put bombs inside the slaves and we removed them and sent these bombs to their capital planet. Did you put bombs in the slaves? Andrew asked. No bombs, Andrew. Olive said. One of the Macs nodded. Do you want me to repeat our conditions again, or do you want me to start destroying your ships and ground installations? And imprison you all in your planet? Roger added. These are what you call users, while Bribid are the sellers. They just consume the slaves. They have no interest in Bribid's fate. A Mac holding the furthest Rotnamie said in English. We will also return the gold you paid for your slaves. Andrew looked at her and nodded. Sagron exclaimed, we agree to your terms. Mila beamed in but just stood there. We will make sure you honor your word. We would leave probes around your 2 planets to make sure you do. Tell all your ships to return to orbit. Andrew said. These guys are really afraid. None were thinking of a double cross. One of the Macs said. Andrew told Olive to beam them back to where she got them. Yes, Mila. Andrew acknowledged Mila. Andrew, 10 Liston ships are coming from the other side of the Rotnamy galaxy and have just turned and now are in the main route towards the Rotnamy capital. They have a lot of gold in the ships. Let's wait and see if Sagron would pull his ships back. Andrew said. He has. The ships are pulling back. Olive said. What would you recommend, Mila? Andrew asked. We can just talk to them and tell them the Rotnamy's business have closed and they should not be doing this thing anymore, or else. Mila said. So can you deal with them directly? Andrew asked. Sure, no problemo. I don't see any problem. If it's okay with you, I would opt to hold them in time boxes, read their minds and then talk to them. Mila said. It does have its benefits and it is a lot more convincing than beaming into their ships. Tonan said. Sure, go ahead. Andrew said.